So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And yes, you see Michael there on the right hand side. It is that time. We are talking about another Dutch team, and I have Michael from the Football Aranya podcast here to talk to us today about probably the second best named team in the world after Aston Villa, and that is the Go Ahead Eagles. Like, I don't even know how you I don't even know what the boardroom conversation is to come up with a name called Go Ahead Eagles. It's just fantastic. I absolutely love it. But before we go into those and more machinations about this team, how are you doing, Michael, since we last spoke?
Yeah, really good. Always a pleasure to come on these podcasts, being a massive Dutch football fan and an Aston Villa fan, but I'm sure your listeners are bored of hearing that now. So
Not at all.
Yeah, I'm good.
Not at all. Excellent, and we're delighted to have you. So, like, as I say, there's not a lot of people out there that know a whole pile about Go Ahead Eagles. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know a whole pile about them. Last year on their trip to the Europa League, I know that they had a guy by the name of Oliver Antman who was signed for Rangers, and he scored a lot of goals, and his numbers were absolutely fantastic. And they sold him, and then now they're in the Europa League this year, and they've obviously retooled again. Give us a little bit of an insight about this team. Obviously, this team from I can't pronounce where they're from again. Where is it? Deventer? Am I right? Deventer. Yeah. Deventer. Yeah, exactly. See, I told you I couldn't pronounce it. A small enough town in Holland, and they're obviously, would it be fair to say, punching above their weight?
Yeah, the main thing to know about Go Ahead Eagles is they are enjoying the ride. They're a mid-table Eredivisie team. They won the Dutch Cup last year, first prize in their history, and they are just loving life in the Europa League, and this is a big thing for them. Their fans, they are enjoying their season. I think the only team you could put it akin to, and cover your ears, Villa fans, is they're a bit like Crystal Palace. They won their first cup in history, and they're enjoying it. They're enjoying the ride of European football. Unfortunately, they're also called the Eagles, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there too. Yeah. Crystal Palace are the same, and I suppose they're a team that haven't been traditionally massively successful in Dutch football, but they're a team that has quite a long history of producing players, or having players. There's a lot of notable names, producing coaches and producing players. Should I say? Am I right in saying Mark Overmars started and finished his career at Go Ahead Eagles? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, you'd be right.
Comes to mind.
Yeah, and then more recent in history, they've been making some really good managers as well. They're a club that's known for it.
Yeah, Ten Hag was their manager previously, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And Rennie Muhlenstein? I could be wrong in that.
René Harker was the manager for them for a little while. He was obviously an assistant at Man United recently. And Paul Simonis is now manager of Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga. So yeah, they've been bringing through players and managers that have gone on to do things in top 5 leagues. So it's just an exciting club. Nice sort of players, nice talents that come through there. They like to scout Scandinavia, so they've got quite a few Scandinavian talents in there too. But what I would say is they don't really have many of their own young talents coming through, but they've been good at scouting and growing in that way. Doing better financially as well with the exploits in obviously winning the cup and now in the Europa League too. Growing club.
Yeah, and look, there's it. I think the Eredivisie it's great to have those growing clubs because they have been so heavily dominated by that top 3, and then even the likes of Twente and likes of Alkmaar haven't been able to break that glass ceiling consistently every single year. Like, you might have a year where PSV are bad, but you never have a year where Ajax are bad or where Feyenoord are bad, but you never have a year where all 3 are bad and they completely get usurped. And I suppose it's really the same in all top 5 leagues in Europe. There are 3 or 4 kingpins, and you want one of those other teams to be the upstarts, like as you mentioned, like Crystal Palace were in the cup last year, or arguably like Aston Villa are trying to be in the Premier League now. The 2025-2026 season so far has started off for Go Ahead Eagles. If I'm not mistaken, they're not exactly having the most rip-roaring start. I think, did I read somewhere whereby they've only picked up 10 points and they're like 3 places off the relegation zone?
Yeah, I have watched a lot of Go Ahead Eagles this season. Bit sad like that. Watched lots of the Eredivisie. And they're a team that I don't think deserves to be down that part of the league. Their players are of a higher quality than their league position suggests. They were in amongst that sort of top 7 past couple of years. Last season, of course, winning the cup, like I said, finished 7th place. I think that's right. And they are quality-wise capable of doing the same thing again, but with them putting so much energy into the Europa League, they have got quite a thin squad. The quality drop-off is quite dramatic after the first 12 or 13 players, that they've had to rely upon that squad to rotate later in games, or in games that they, for example, they played a promoted team, Telstar, away from home. They made like 5 or 6 changes and lost the game 4-2. So yeah, the main starting 11 on Thursday will be a strong one. They'll put lots of energy into it. They're at home. They play really well at home. They dominate the ball at times. But they can also sit deep and counter-attack. They've got a lot of tools that can hurt teams. And when they've got that time to prepare for a game, which is rare now this season, it's just new. They're just not used to it. Players, managers, it's new. They won, for example, 3-0 at home to Volendam. It was a really convincing performance because they had an international break for the previous 2 weeks. They could prepare. They had PSV in the most recent game, only lost that one 2-1 away from home. They had a really good draw at home to Ajax this season as well. But yes, they have only won 2 games from 9 in the Eredivisie so far. So that's not great, but I just think this season's all about they survive in the league. That doesn't matter where they finish exactly. And really enjoy this Europa League season because this has not happened to the club, but they've been in the main phase of a European competition. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's like I just while you were talking there, I was bringing up the league because I was going very much so on memory from something I just read earlier on today. And when I look at the league, they're in 12th place. They're on 10 points. They're 3 points above the relegation zone. But they're still only 6 points away from Ajax and 4th, you know. So like they're a win. They're like Aston Villa, you know. They go on a run. They could loop up the league very, very quickly there. They've obviously as well been in Europe this year. They played their first game at home against Steaua Bucharest, losing 1-0 in that game. But then they go away to Panathinaikos and they win 2-1 in that game with Milan Smith scoring both of those goals, you know. So did you watch any of that Panathinaikos game? I think that's probably a more
I watched both. Watched the FCSB game and the Panathinaikos game. So the FCSB game, they're losing that 1-0 at home. They had 78% possession, all the chances, should have won. Don't know how they lost. Just one of those games. We've all seen them before. And then in the Panathinaikos game, very different performance. They conceded a lot of chances, sat in deep. Keeper made a bunch of saves. They've got a centre-back duo that are big, physical. Think of your classic championship team duo that will win everything in the air. Anyway, they had lots of clearances, get the ball away, and they managed to score 2 goals in the counter-attack of pure quality. So there's a team that can punish you if given those opportunities. Do I think they're better than Aston Villa? No. But they have shown that they can mix it up and they can play well in these games where they can put the energy and dedication into it. But it's not something that this set of players can do twice a week, every single week, because of the amount of games demand that they're now facing, which they're not used to.
Yeah. And it's that is something that's huge and it's underrated, I think, as well, for, you know, teams that are not financially affluent, I suppose, to the way that they can maybe that they can go from maybe having 12 players that they can cope or that they can call upon to maybe even increasing that to 15 players is a huge boon, especially if you're in Europe as well for a small team. If they haven't been able to do that, well, then, you know, the onus comes on younger players and you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle, then, I suppose, from that point of view there. But I mentioned that the striker in Smith, Milan Smith, you know, obviously the man who scored the first 2 goals for Go Ahead Eagles in European competition. Is he somebody that plays up top quite a lot, or is he somebody that's, you know, what do you make of him? Obviously being the the man who got the 2 goals the last day, is he somebody that Villa are going to have to try and keep quiet?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because at the start of the season, he wasn't like their undisputed number 9. It was actually Victor Edvardsen, who's come back from injury in time for this game. And he is a good player. Will put himself around a lot. Will get fans on sides. I think John McGinn, but a striker.
Big man, yeah.
Big man, yeah. And Milan Smith is kind of taken advantage of the fact Edvardsen's been injured and played up top on his own. And his height, physicality is very good. Wins things in the air, but also a good poacher. So he scored a bunch of goals in the Dutch second tier, Smith. And now he's finally been given his chance after waiting a long time, I'd say, since he signed for Go Ahead Eagles. And I think he scored, I need to get this fact right because I listen to a couple of Villa podcasts now, but I think he scored 6 goals in a row in away games. It's something along those lines, where away from home has been really effective, and think he's a handful. So more so I did at the start of the season. Only 22 years of age. But I think if Smith and Edvardsen start together, so maybe Edvardsen's on the wing, for example, I think they could cause Villa a bit of trouble. Or at least Edvardsen will come off the bench. And if it's a tight game at that point, he could be a bit of a difference maker. But no, in terms of quality levels, look, I mean, Milan Smith was linked with a move to Blackburn Rovers over the summer. Let's think about levels here. But I think if Smith does well this season, he could probably get a better move than a Blackburn Rovers. Another player I'd love to pick out, by the way, because I've got to keep pulling his name forwards, because he's one of those players that you will hear more of in the future. Jakob Brum, who is their attacking midfielder, number 10. He has bigger, curlier hair than me. And he's just runs the game. You will see him on the ball so often. He'll play as a 10, find space in between the lines. He'll drop deep and get the ball. He was linked with Celtic over the summer. It didn't materialise. Yes. Yeah. And in the end, the Dutch media was saying to him, look, just stay. Just play the Europa League games and stay at the club. Help Go Ahead Eagles. I don't know if he's listened to them, but he's still at the club. Could move in January or in the summer. I think he'll move to a top 5 league for sure. I'd see like in Italy suiting him quite nicely, actually, going to play in Serie A. But yeah, we'll see anyway about him. But I think look out for him on the night. He'll take set pieces. He'll be a threat. Good pass on him. Really good pass on him.
Another one of those very, very delicately, brilliantly technical Danish players.
Because play in the Eredivisie as well. They love Scandinavian players in the Eredivisie. Yeah, very technical.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's great breeding ground, I suppose, for maybe middle of the road, quote unquote, Scandinavian players to get into the Eredivisie, and then kind of catapult themselves into one of those so-called top 5 leagues in Europe as well. Go Ahead Eagles. As I said, one of the reason I said Rebbe Muhlenstein earlier on was because his son actually plays for Go Ahead Eagles.
That's right.
That's what that was the glitch I had in my brain. Pretty decorated defensive midfielder, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously started off at Manchester United, if I remember rightly. Joined them from Sampdoria. Obviously Sampdoria are not the Sampdoria of they're not the Sampdoria of when I was a kid that were absolutely all conquering. Were a brilliant team to watch with Attilio Lombardo and they're actually Paddy, the co-host in this podcast. He loves Sampdoria. He's followed them in Italy for ages. He's been over to see them and everything like that. But he joined them from Sampdoria, and he's quite an adept number 6 as well when he gets going, isn't he?
Yeah, I really like him as well. He's come into the club over the summer. He was playing in the Eredivisie before and returned to the league with a team that's obviously in Europe, so it's a nice little step up for him. Sampdoria was struggling, I think, in Serie B, and he wanted a move again that would push on his career, because actually he did quite well over in Italy and deserved better than where he was in that league, from what I hear. Go Ahead Eagles spent around about €1 million, which is quite a lot of money for a mid-table Eredivisie team to lay out on a player. And he's great. He can slot in at centre-back. He's a good midfielder, threat from set pieces, and another player that's got a really good pass on him. They were missing that after a couple of player sales over the summer. Mullenstein's come in, and he's been great. Another player that will be important on Thursday.
And he's got a 1-3 record. I just Googled him there, popped him up. He's got a 1-3 record in English football for the wonderful and the giant Lancaster City. In the National League. Well, they're playing in the National League at the time anyway. And he moved there when he was on loan at Preston in the Championship. So he does, I think it's not to be underestimated, the fact that he has previous in English football as well, because even just the cultural differences about stadia, fans. I know a lot of players will be aware of that now by literally just watching games in the Premier League and so on. But for a team maybe like Go Ahead Eagles, yes, you do go to a couple of big stadiums every year, but and I know they're not going to be in Villa Park like it goes, but to experience potentially an English team coming with some of those big names, and then even the away fans, albeit I think there's only 468 or something like that Villa fans going. You can be sure that they're going to be loud in the Venter and on Thursday night as well. But even just having that knowledge of playing against those English systems as well, and having that inside track from his time at United and his time at Preston will stand to him and will stand to the team as well. Is there anybody else within this Go Ahead Eagles team we should be looking out for?
Oh, that's a good question. Without wanting to run through the entire team, I do think that their fullbacks need a bit of attention. Matt Style is their captain, plays at right back. He's been at the club for a number of years now, been into his late 20s. He's still at the club. He again, like other players Go Ahead Eagles, just wants to stay and experience this Europa League campaign before moving abroad and playing in a top 5 league potentially. Yeah, he's good. He gets forward from right back. On the other side, you've got another flying fullback, Dean James, who I think will get a transfer as well. He's a younger. Can't remember his age exactly. If you have got open there, maybe you can tell me.
25. I literally just clicked on him. 25.
He's younger than that. Okay. Yeah, well, I think he will also get a transfer somewhere else. He's quite diminutive, but very quick. Bit of an Alex Moreno, if you think, his pace getting up and down, but size isn't always there. But he's got a great delivery on him with his left foot. Good cross on him. Yeah, I think Villa don't have to necessarily worry about Go Ahead Eagles' wingers, but they do have to worry about the fullbacks that will overlap. I think that's going to be the trouble for them. And Villa themselves need to counter that by getting their own fullbacks forward. I'd love to see Ian Martin getting a game here. I actually think that all 4 Villa Dutch players will play in this game. I'd love to see them all start as well. They're all kind of due a game if you go through each of those. And Martin will be the perfect person to have down at left side because Go Ahead Eagles' is right winger, Michel Margaret. He's another one of their big signings over the summer, and he's not great at getting back defensively at times, but he's good and technical getting forward. I think Martin puts him under pressure. That could be an area of joy for Villa. Other than that, yeah, I think it's, like I say, it's how the fullbacks get forward for them and how much joy Jakob Brum gets. Because if you put Kamara on him, then Brum will just drop deep. And then who's going to sort him out in that midfield position? I mean, this will be a test for Brum to see just how good he is on this stage at this level. But in the Eredivisie, you always see him on the ball, even against those top teams. He's trying to run the show. So this is a great opportunity for him. And like I say, all the other players as well that put themselves in the shot window in a game like this and in the Europa League.
Exactly. It's and that's what a lot of these players will be looking to do. Without, I'm always reluctant to say stuff like that because it sounds like it's Aston Villa's superiority complex. Like we don't have any right to say that any player should move to a bigger team or anything like that. But a lot of these players will do that. Like as I said previously, Oliver Atman made a pretty big move from Go Ahead Eagles, and his numbers were fantastic. Move to Rangers hasn't really transpired from Rangers, but then don't think anything has for Rangers this year, and they've got Danny Rod has gone in there just as of today, so we'll see what he does at that club as well. Talk to me a small little bit about their goalkeeper, because I'm always fascinated with European excursions and to see, like I don't know whether sometimes you see a bigger team come up against a smaller team and the goalkeeper just has the game of his life, absolutely the game of his life. Like it happens quite often. And is it go? I presume it's going to be Jari de Busser. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Jari de Busser.
Yeah, Jari de Busser. Yeah, he's going to be in goals. Like he doesn't have a massive experience level just looking at his numbers here. Talk to me a small bit about him.
No, but he's one of the stronger keepers in the league, and he was given a chance. Basically when the stats in front of me, this is just cold like knowledge coming out now. He was only in goal in the goal last season and kind of grew into the team and became like their cup fighting goalkeeper. Made fantastic saves in their cup final win in the penalty shootout. But was their like second choice keeper. like I said, at the beginning of last season, then took over to become the first choice, and now he's like undisputed number one. After a great season, this season could easily get a chance for himself. In the Eredivisie, you kind of have those players though. It's just so normal. I don't need to tell you, Neil, about this, but I think some of you listeners might be interested. The culture's different in that in the Eredivisie, you're putting yourself in the shop window. You're not necessarily there to stay in that league. There's only a handful of players that are there in that league to stay and enjoy playing in the Netherlands, maybe because they are Dutch. Or some imports will go, well, the Eredivisie is my ceiling. I'm here at a good level and see at their prime there. There are so many players that will come into the league aspiring or getting anyway to achieve this big move to a top 5 league. Serie A, Barcelona, Premier League, they're all clubs that they dream of going to. And Go Ahead Eagles are no different in that. Like half of that starting 11 will be players that will want the transfer. The club know that, the fans know that, but the club and the fans and the players celebrate that. It's just normal within the Eredivisie. Selling club, selling league, but it's normal. It's part of the healthy growth of the league. That's how they get their main funds in to then reinvest back into their scouting of places like Scandinavia, but also the youth academies, which we know are famed for in the Netherlands.
Is it a difficult ground to go to?
In the league, it had a long while where they were beaten. So under Rene Harker, there was something like 17 games unbeaten at home in the league, which is really impressive for a mid-table team. And they are more beatable now at home. But I think the style of play lends quite well to them playing at home. They get the fans on side. It's not hostile, but it will be very noisy for the size ground. It is around 10,000, 15,000 in size. They'll give it a good go. And I think it is a difficult place to go because they play a lot better at home than they do away. It's a simple fact about Go Ahead Eagles. Do I expect them to beat Villa because of that? No, but I think it'll make for more of an occasion.
Yeah, it's like because of the size of the ground, I'm going to make the sweeping stereotypical analogy and say that it's going to be kind of like going to the Vitality Stadium or I'll go even better for any of the older listeners out there. The old Dell in Southampton, which apparently was a horrible place to go to because you couldn't get in there and you couldn't get out of it. When you were in there, everything was cramped. Apparently, before they moved to the St. Mary's Stadium. So that's the completely ignorant, stereotypical analogy I'm going to give of a stadium I've never seen before, never, ever, didn't even know it really existed until we drew them in the league. And I'm going to say that with my chest out and say it must be like the Dell in Southampton in the early 90s. Because, hey, there's people getting paid to do that all over on every single sports channel all over this world. To talk about stuff they don't know. So I'm not going to be any different. Michael, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. As I say, you do know so much about the Eredivisie. Much as I like watching football, I don't get I watch people on recommendation. I watch players, more so players, clips and stuff like that, but none of the Go Ahead Eagles outside of Mr. Ant-Man from last year really came across my radar. So it is brilliant to know and to get some knowledge from you on the team itself and how we would expect them to line out and who we would expect to look for on Thursday evening as well. So thanks so much for joining us today. And if anybody still is in the dark about who this man is, go to Footballer and it is the best English Eredivisie site, podcast, anything that you want. Just go there and thank me afterwards. That's don't thank me, thank Michael, because you know him. So thank him. Go to
us.
Exactly.
How many times I've been on here, man? Come over to football, aren't you?
Absolutely. But no, listen, thanks so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And I say hopefully we get the win because you being an Aston Villa fan on Thursday, because that then I think really kind of cements it for Aston Villa in the Europa League. I don't think there's any way we don't progressing in the top 8 at that stage, and then we can go and concentrate on the league. Man City, Liverpool coming up. I think that without being once again having that superiority complex when speaking about other teams, because every team deserves the respect. But win this game on Thursday, I think Aston Villa will start to look towards the league and solidify their position there as well.
Yeah, great.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Michael. Really, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much to absolutely everybody for watching and for listening as well. We will be back again probably every day this week with more podcasts. So thanks so much for watching and for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa. Ding.